Okay, we should be live. Are you hearing me?
Yep. Well, I'm just starting the stream on the TV.
Okay, should be live sitting in the briefing room.
Should be live. My voice is a bit louder than yours. I'll talk a little quiet.
I can just lower your volume here. Try that.
Okay, test 1, 2, 3. Still louder than yours.
How about that?
Test 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's probably okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm just going to start it on my phone here so I have it on a second screen.
So what's the best place for me to listen to you, on the TV or on Discord itself?
Well, on the TV you're going to get that, 10-second delay or whatever it is, so probably on the Discord.
Yeah, I think so.
Once we get the plane started, we'll do another sound check with the sim sound, and then after that you can just mute it.
Okay.
Did you find a departure or anything?
No, it doesn't look like there's any charts of a departure or an arrival at the destination. There's probably an approach there. I haven't looked at that yet, but no departure or.
That's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure. Alright, got it loaded up on my phone. I think we're ready to start.
Okay, I'm connected to VATSIM as an observer.
Alright, I am connected, and everything should be set up. All we have to do is the briefing here real quick, and then we will go out to the plane and get it started.
Sounds good.
Alright, so welcome aboard everybody, it's Captain D. Today we're in the Airfoil Labs King Air 350. We're going to fly from Nome to Dead Horse. We have a special guest on board. Capt Skidroq is going to be our check pilot today.
Hello everybody, glad to be here.
Pull up the flight plan here. So many tabs, not enough screens. Okay, so we're going to depart Nome, direct to the Nome VOR Oscar Mike Echo, enter the J123 jetway to Oscar Tango Zulu, transition to the Q12 route to Sierra Charlie Charlie, and then direct destination or whatever approach we deem necessary.
I concur.
Weather today, it's kind of hazy but clear, a little bit of wind. We shouldn't have any problems there. There's no weather forecasted on our route of flight. Destination weather, let's see if I can get it on the tablet here. Okay, Dead Horse is reporting winds 080 at 14 knots, 10 statute miles, overcast at 1,000.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing.
So with winds at 080, our best bet is probably to either shoot the RNAV approach into 06 or the ILS.
Our ceilings look to be at about overcast at 1,000, right?
Yeah, field elevation is only 67 feet above sea level, so we could probably get under that and shoot the visual, but let's just plan to do the ILS as a backup.
And our minimums are exactly the same on the ILS or the RNAV, so we can do either way.
All right, I think we're ready to go out to the plane. Oh, one more thing we want to look up here. Can you look up real quick Nome's runway length, please?
Okay. They are 6176 for 0321, which is the favored runway, and 6009 for 1028.
All right, so plenty of runway.
So 03 would be the favored by the winds.
All right, we're in the plane. Smart Copilot and everything's still connected. We'll bring up the checklist. Before engine start, checklist, exterior checked. We already did the walk around. Cabin doors, windows, everything is locked. No passengers on board, so briefing's not necessary. We've briefed between the two of us. Instrument lights, nighttime is required, not required. Parking brake is set. Control locks are removed and stowed. Oxygen system pre-flight check. Pilot
Now,
gyro.
my control locks have not come off here yet.
Okay, you might have to do that. It probably doesn't sync that.
What do I do to get rid of them? Where do I click?
I think you click down there on that second pouch next to the pilot handbook thing. Yeah, there's two pouches on that door. If you click the lower one, it goes away.
Yep, that's good.
Alright, pirate gyro, switch slave, check. Fuse panels, everything's popped in, check. Engine anti-ice on. That's not required. Inverters off, avionics are off, external power switches off, auto feather off, auto ignition off, landing gears down, landing gear control relay checked in, check. Clock control wheel, check. External lights as required, ice protection is off, check. Power levers are set all the way back. Prop levers ground to idle. Check. Condition levers full forward. Check. prop levers full forward, condition levers fuel cutoff. Check. There we go.
I'm not seeing that move on mine. There, now it goes if I move.
I don't know if it's going to sync up all the exact movements or not.
Because now, is the prop...
Full
You
forward.
got it... Okay.
EFIS power down here. Check, check. Cabin pressure's off. Pitch trim on. Check. Rudder boost. Check.
Now, mine is still off. Did you move yours up to rudder boost?
Yeah, mine's up all the way.
It just moved now.
Hold on a second, my phone's ringing. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Alright, oxygen controls.
Is that on yours? Pitch trim to the left of the rudder?
Yes.
Okay, I'll turn mine on then. Okay. Oh, now it went off.
Yeah, because when you switched yours, mine moved, and I switched it back.
Okay, so we'll just leave it that way then.
Copilot sub-panel switches, you want to check your switches. Everything should be off. Check your bleed air should be on low. Environmental switches, bleed air valve should be off. Aft blower off. Electric heat off. Aft heat as required.
Check everything is off.
Alright, Copilot's instrument panel. Copilot's gyro slaved out. Alternate static source normal. Circuit breaker panels, your battery should be on. Your voltmeter should give 23 volts.
My battery is not on. Have you turned the batteries on yet or not?
No, I'm doing that right now. Alright, batteries are on.
Okay. Now, do I have a specific voltmeter on my side?
I think there's one on the Copilot side, but you can check the main one. They both read the same thing. It looks good on my end.
Where is the voltmeter?
Up above you. On the overhead. And battery should be reading about 24 volts.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Fasten seatbelt signs. are on. Alright, I think we're ready to start. Oh, we gotta take off the prop covers and all that first. Okay. Left ignition coming up, waiting for 20%. There's 20%. We'll introduce fuel. There's the light up. The ITT's coming up. Alright, left engine is started.
Nothing is happening on my end, and my gauges are just kind of flickering.
Okay, well, why don't just disconnect your Smart Copilot? I'll get everything started up, and then you can reconnect, and it should sync.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good.
Alright, left generator on. Alright, and we'll go with the right ignition. Zoom out here a little bit so we can see. Okay. Waiting for the 20%. There's 20%. We'll introduce fuel. Alright, engine is started. Beacon lights on. We can turn on the avionics. Avionics are coming on. Engine ignitions can come off. Pitot heats are on. Okay, you should be able to join up now and everything should sync up. The only thing I'm waiting for is the attitude indicator to come up. Alright, you connected?
Yeah, but nothing's running.
Alright, disconnect again and we'll do what we did last time. I'll just do that before takeoff, and that seemed to work last time.
You know what? Yeah, okay.
So set yours at before takeoff. I'll do the same and then we'll sync up. If I can hit the button right.
Oh, left engine propeller covers are removed before starting the engine. Well, I think they are. Shouldn't the before takeoff do that for you?
That it should, but it doesn't mean that it did.
Well, I don't see any covers on anything. Are you ready for me to join?
Yes, sir. Alright, are you connected?
It should be.
Engines are running, everything's good?
Looks that way, yep.
Alrighty. Let me just put the flight plan in the GTNs here. You want to check and make sure yours isn't slave to an autopilot or anything?
Yeah, I'll double check again. No, neither of them are master devices. No, let's just okay. Let's turn off the connect them to the CDIs and all that kind of stuff. Okay, it should all be. No, I'm connected.
You can probably put it in your GTN too as a reference.
Yeah, I'm going to try that, especially for the VNAV and stuff like that.
Alright, so Q12 SCC direct destination. And then we'll load procedure approach. Do you want to do the ILS or the RNAV?
The ILS looks like it's a circle to land. The other one looks a little more straight in, but the circle to land might be fun.
We can try it. Alright, so I'll put in the ILS. Where should we pick it up at?
Well, Yagif or Uval. Probably Uval would be the best.
Okay. And load approach. Alright, so I've got that programmed in the GTN number 1. What I usually do when I fly with the GTN Dual, I don't usually put the flight plan in both of them. I usually use one for traffic, and then when I get closer to the airport, I use it to look at the chart.
Yep, that makes sense.
All right there, Copilot Skidroq. You are in charge of the radios, and we are ready to make our taxi call.
Okay, what are you going to be? What's your initial altitude?
Well, there's no departure, and we're going all the way to 250, so we'll probably just climb out to 250.
Okay, so we'll set it at 250.
That's strange. My autopilot controller is not working real quick. I'm gonna turn it off and turn it back on. I'll be right back.
Well, it's a little strange. Mine, the knobs are working, but the display is blank just on the autopilot, but everything else is on.
Yeah, mine's the same. I don't think the knobs are working though. I'll just spin the knob in the plane, no big deal.
I set it at 250, but it obviously isn't synced.
No, mine wasn't synced, but now it's like on 700. Oh, you got to push the button in. That's right. There we go.
Oh, mine's at 48,300.
Oh, because it went up when I spun it?
Well, probably.
Okay, well, just disconnect and reconnect again, and then I'll just have to do it because I'm at the master.
Okay. Okay, I've set it now at 250.
I know, but now mine's going down because they're not synced up.
Oh, I thought I disconnected.
Nope.
Ah, okay. There, now I've disconnected.
Okay, I'm going to set mine at 250, have yours set at 250, and then they should sync.
I think this is the Smart Copilot that wasn't working as well as the other one.
Well, whatever one I'm using is the one that worked. I mean, that's the one I left in there. I don't think I would have put the worst one back in there.
Well, I thought okay, because the first flight we did worked. The second flight was a disaster. So then you switched them back.
I think I did, but we'll try it. If we have problems, we'll figure it out. What is our local altimeter here?
9 or 1. And our CTAP is 123.6.
Okay, you're really quiet. I barely heard that.
Sorry, 123.6 is our CTAF, and 2 or 1. I guess when I'm looking at the radio panel, I'm not talking into the mic.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Alright, 123.6 is set in COM 1. And what was the altimeter?
2 or 1. And do you have, is COM 1, it looks like it's turned on now, isn't it? I turned it on mine.
Yeah, my COM switch is set to audio COM, and COM 1 switch is active.
So we're ready for taxi?
Yeah, go ahead and make taxi call.
Nome traffic, King Air, November 21 Kilo Alpha, taxiing runway 03 via Delta, Nome traffic.
Okay, are you going to run a smart cars or not?
No, I won't worry about it.
Alright, I'm going to start mine here. Alright, via Delta, so let's see. Let me get a taxi diagram here.
Basically, it looks like straight ahead right turn and the runway is there.
Alright, parking brake is coming off. Taxi lights coming on. We pulled the chocks here. I don't think the parking brake came off right or something. Is your parking brake off?
I think so.
There we go. I just had to give it some go. Alright, so the taxiways are gravel here. And we're taking 03.
Affirmative.
Known traffic, King Air 21 Kilo Alpha, taking runway 03, IFR departure to the east. No.
The runway's over to the left a little bit.
Yeah, I see it. My brakes are just really touchy. For some odd reason, if you try to use a little bit of braking while you're turning, it wants to like either stop all the way or go all wacky. Okay, another thing I want to test real quick is hold your brakes.
Okay, I'm holding brakes on, full.
Yeah, so it doesn't sink any of that. Somebody, I read, if you use that force control thing, it does, but we'll have to try that. Okay, so flaps set for takeoff, please.
Okay, flaps are set and indicating takeoff position.
Alright, trim set for takeoff.
I'm showing it all the way down.
Yeah, our trim wheels obviously aren't.
Okay, yeah, I guess yours is fine. It seems to just add whatever you have onto mine, so just
Okay.
go with whatever yours says.
Alright. Alright, flaps are set, trim is set.
And is pressurization set at 250?
Let me check. It needs to come up a little bit. Pressurization
Yeah,
check.
looks good. I just don't want to mess with it in case it messes yours up.
Alright, go ahead and make taxi call. Go ahead and make taxi call.
Known traffic, King Air 21.
Strobes coming on, nav's coming on, landing lights are on, taxi lights off.
No.
Alright, you want to go ahead
Did I
and
say
tune.
VFR? I meant IFR.
All right, you want to go ahead and tune the Gnome VOR into nav1.
Okay, 115.0. Into nav 1 or 2?
Nav1, please.
Okay, it should be in nav 1, 115.1 or 0.0.
All right, condition levers are full and we're rolling. Takeoff power is set.
Auto feather lights on. Airspeed alive. 60 knots. Pumps full.
Airspeed's alive, 90 knots,
Positive rate.
100 knots.
Rotate.
Gears coming up.
Attitudes check. Gear indicates up.
Flaps are coming up.
Flaps indicates up.
It doesn't look like flaps, gear, or anything is synced. So I just put the gear up manually on.
Okay. Well, my gear's up, flaps are up, and making the turn. Go ahead and make the radio call.
Unknown traffic, King Air 21 Delta or 21 Kilo Alpha, making the right crosswind off of runway 03, heading for the Nome VOR. Nome traffic.
Here I am trying to hit the autopilot button on my panel, and it's not working, so I gotta go to the plane here.
So you're not getting a fuel quantity annunciation, are you? Yellow?
Negative.
Okay. I am, but this is just a very poor Smart Copilot file. Nothing is working very well. Okay, we should be at the Nome VOR for the left turn. It looks like we'll probably be on the 013 radial outbound if we're going to be following that.
Alright, autopilot should be engaged.
It doesn't look like it on your screen.
Yeah, it doesn't check in here. Alright, now I think it's engaged. I just gotta figure out the vertical speed thing. Alright, should be set up. Indicated airspeed climb all the way to 25,000 feet. Go ahead and turn the prop sync on. Alright, and we're above 10,000 feet. Landing lights are coming off. Pressurization looks good. Alright, so right now I'm showing that we've got a 22 knot wind out of the east. We're getting 177 over the ground, 3 hours and 15 minutes with 578 nautical miles. Would you concur, Copilot?
Well, I'm showing an 11 knot wind from approximately the same direction. Speed is exactly the same according to ForeFlight. And 2 hours, 55 minutes according to ForeFlight right now. So, yeah, very similar.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a sync issue there. Yeah, I'll have to, I guess, pull the one off the website. Or did you get that one off the Discord? Did you get that second one we used off the Smart Copilot Discord?
No, well, let me look here. The one on the Smart Copilot website and see which one is different. Yeah, okay. So the one that we're using is different than the one on the Smart Copilot website. So the one we're using must be the one from the Discord. But I think that, from what I remember, that one had a lot more issues, even though we thought it wouldn't, because it came from the Smart Copilot grad.
Okay, then I'll just re-download the one off the website and switch them out.
And we can try that.
That one wasn't perfect. Alright, at 299.2 I show we're climbing through 19,400.
Yep, 19,600 right now.
Alright, at these altitudes we're limited more by ITT temperatures than we are torque, so I'm going to keep the ITTs right at about the top of the green. And once we get up to flight level 250, we'll pull the prop back to about 1600, and that should give us some more torque without raising the ITT. take a quick look around outside.
Well, it's good on this long flight. I brought my knitting to do. Actually, I finally was able to print that trim wheel properly, so I'm just filing down any little imperfections.
Is it just like little burrs left over from the printing, or what?
Yeah, just where the support went in, like it pops off pretty easy, but there's just some little bumps and stuff. So I just got to smooth it out so it's nice and smooth, and then it's printed in. This I printed in blue because the pink stuff I had was not. I don't know if it needs to be dried out a bit. It wasn't printing very well, so I printed it in blue because I'm out of black. So once I get it all nice and smooth, then I'll spray paint it black.
Alright, we're coming up on 230 with 2,000 to go. Pressurization is set. And look over here. Make sure all of our environmental controls are set. A 1,000 to go. Not a bad rate of climb. It's going to take us about 12 minutes to get to 25,000 feet.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
Alright, 100 feet to go, coming up on cruising altitude. We'll watch the speed and then set the power for cruise power, and we'll be on our way. Alright, autopilot's got us level at flight level 250. We'll bring the props back to 1600. According to the performance charts, that should give us about a 66.5 to 67 on the torque. That's right. Turbines at 99.5, that's in the green. Fuel flow looks good. Oil temperatures and pressures are good. Copilot, go ahead and turn off the fasten seatbelt sign for our imaginary passengers back there.
All right.
Alright, speed's still coming up. And we've got 126.8 nautical miles to the next VOR. I tuned that into nav 1 at 115.7. speed's still slowly creeping up there. At these power settings, it should settle around 210 indicated. Which will give us probably close to 300 over the ground.
Yeah, because I'm showing about 280 right now, so...
Yeah, I've got 281 off the GTN. And it looks like it's going to stop at about 200. I'm going to increase it a little bit. We've got some room with the ITT. And that got us about 210, which right now is 292 over the ground.
Exactly what I've got.
It'll probably creep up a few knots here as the wind direction changes. That also gives about a 10 to 20 knot buffer before you start getting into the overspeed range.
Yeah, at $1 million an engine, you don't want to erode.
Yep, now I'm getting, according to the DME down here, I'm getting 301 knots. GTN says 302. Alright, so that's going to give us probably about an hour and a half of cruise, and I don't see, there's no arrival in there, so I guess we'll just set up a descent profile to the first waypoint on the GPS approach.
Yeah, and that looks to be 2,300 at Uval.
Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll go into the flight plan. We'll go
So
down.
are you going to hand fly that 16 DME arc, or are you going to let the GTN?
Well, I'll let the GTN try and do it, but it has let me down in the past, so I will be prepared to hand fly it.
Okay, and then I can be calling out the DME as well and watching that for you. So we want to, that waypoint Uval is DME of 16 on the 144 radial of the Dead Horse VOR. So we'll set that up as well, and maybe on VR2 as a backup if for the GTN, and then if the GTN totally fails, we can also track it on VOR1.
Okay, I've got the VNAV set up. I just have to change the user field when we get closer. I've never flown that approach, so as long as we brief it pretty good here in a little bit, and have the GTN in there as a backup, I'm pretty confident I can hand fly it.
Yeah, it's fairly simple, just a basic DME arc. So
Well, for our very simple viewers, why don't you explain what a DME arc is?
okay, so there is a VOR, which is a very high frequency omnidirectional radio beacon, and it sends signals out, 360 signals in a circle each corresponding to 1 degree of on the compass. So this VOR happens to be sitting at the airport. We'll say it's in the center of the airport. It's probably not exactly in the center, but it's on the airport field. And so a DME arc is, we have a gauge on here, maybe it's to the left of the HSI there under the ADF indicator. It's got the orange lettering on it. There are the orange numbers. He's going to show you there, Captain D. And that thing there is called a DME, a distance measuring equipment. So that is telling us how far we are from the particular nav aid that we have tuned in. So on this approach, we are going to tune in the Dead Horse VOR. And then what we're supposed to do is the waypoint that we're supposed to go to initially and the subsequent waypoints on this circle to land are all in a circle at 16 miles from the Dead Horse VOR. So we're going to be flying a right-hand circle, and we're going to be watching that DME indication, and we want to keep that at basically 16 miles. We'll probably go somewhere between 15.8 and 16.2, but depending on how well it can be flown, we should stay as close to 16 miles on that equipment, but that will have us in a continuous slight right turn until we intercept the VOR, which is the ILS, which is another radio beacon that we will follow, and that will give us guidance both side to side, laterally and vertically up and down, that should take us right to the runway even in adverse weather, even if we can't see it.
Nicely done there, Captain Skidroq. Couldn't have done it better myself.
Well, as I was saying this, I was just thinking you could do a much better job of this than me. But I will practice for next time to be a little more eloquent on my Xplane.
Well, the days of the circle to land and DME arc approaches and VOR approaches are numbered.
Yeah, so that's why it's kind of cool to be able to still do a few of them when there's one, around, just to be able to wax nostalgia.
That's why I was saying on the last stream we should do a cross-country flight with nothing but VORs on old school equipment.
Yeah, exactly, and even leave the GPS like totally non-tuned in. And then fly for a little bit, and then have to figure out exactly where we are based on the readings from 2 different VORs. Try to pinpoint where.
Yeah, we should set that up and maybe do it this weekend or something. We'll have to find a good chunk of cross country that's still got active VORs.
Yeah. Well, likely there's probably more of those up still in Canada than there are in the States. Although there still has to be one every 100 miles in the U.S.
As far as I know, that's still the regulation, but I think that's going to change next year to like 200 miles.
Now, I wish Melissa at AOPA would be a little more of an advocate for keeping them around.
Yeah, but to be honest, it's a dying art form. Like when you go through your pilot exams and stuff, it's not taught as in depth as it used to be because everybody's using ForeFlight, everybody's using GPS, especially with the advent of 2020 regulations and ADSB. You have to have that stuff to fly.
Well, and also VFR equipment both on the ground and in the aircraft expensive to maintain, and it requires that constant proficiency check in the aircraft. It was every month or every 3 months to be able to actually fly using it.
The 90-day IFR certification.
Whereas if you're using a GPS, what is the certification time period if you're, say, using the Garmin GTN 750? Is there even a certification period?
I think it's just checked during the annual.
Yeah. So overall, it is a lot better system.
Yeah, but you know what happens if you're in the air and the satellites go out? And if you don't know the old school way, you might not make it home.
Well, that's true. See, that thought doesn't really cross my mind because I know the old school way. But somebody who doesn't, I guess they would be in trouble.
Well, yeah, I always wondered about those 737 pilots and 747 pilots, if they all of a sudden had to go back to visual dead reckoning, if they'd be able to do it.
Well, yeah, it's you think of all the low-cost carriers, particularly in Europe and in Great Britain, that it wouldn't. You know, I would rather go in the cockpit and fly the airplane back myself than let some of those guys do it.
I know.
Because I think I could reasonably get us where we needed to go.
I had a buddy that he always used to give me crap about I don't drink when I fly, and he used to tell me, you're just sitting there, why not have a couple of drinks? And I told him, well, if that guy up front screws up, I want to be sober to fix it.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's the dream of every sim pilot, right? Or even every small private pilot.
Well, it's just drilled into your head as a private pilot. You're in an airplane, you got to be sober.
Although I must say, my one of my clients / friends who was a Canadian Airlines and then Air Canada pilot, he flew Vancouver to London, England, but lived in central Canada here in Winnipeg. So he would fly, him and his wife, who was a flight attendant, would fly to Vancouver to to do their shifts, and they could fly for free in coach, or if they paid, I believe it was $10, they could get upgraded to first class or business class, provided there was seats. So he was a pretty good guy with running on a budget and things like that, and knowing his money. And he said that $10 is the best we've ever spent because free booze. He said some of the best times of our life have been spent on that flight from Winnipeg to Vancouver or the other way in business class with all the free booze that we could take.
I guess if you're on your way home, you might as well have a few drinks as long as you trust your colleagues.
Well, we were having dinner one night, and he was sitting at the end of the table, and I was kind of on the left side of the table. And all of a sudden, right in the middle, there's a bunch of us there. We were having a nice time, and all of a sudden, he clutches his throat, and he just starts hacking and just kind of trying to clear his throat. And so everybody's looking. I don't know if he's pulling a joke or whatever. But apparently, one time when he was flying, and so ever since then, whenever it seems that he might get something caught in his throat, he kind of freaks out a little bit. He was flying a 767 as the captain on the way to London, England, and he's a big guy, 300 plus pounds, just a monster of a guy. And something got caught in his throat from the in-flight meal, and he couldn't breathe, and he couldn't say anything, and he was sitting there trying to, not cause a big embarrassing scene with his first officer, and realizing that it'd be only a small matter of time until he probably was going to pass out, and if he slumped forward on the control yoke, chances are this little first officer beside him was not going to be able to recover the ensuing dive of the airplane. So finally he was able to get it dislodged and continue breathing again. So now whenever that happens, he kind of freaks out a little bit. Well, because and particularly now, and this was before 9/11, but now, like, even getting somebody else into the cockpit to pull him back would not be the swiftest or the easiest thing. And in the meantime, the first officer would be trying to stabilize the flight. So, it's not that he can unbuckle and go and, try to pull the guy off of there. So it could be a real disaster. But as with my other airline buddies, there certainly is no shortage of very entertaining stories from the. Oh, because the Airbus is totally fly-by-wire. There's no mechanical connection between the two, but there's probably like a slip yoke on the cross connection between the two floor-mounted yokes then on the Boeing. Well, in the 737 MAX, it does that just randomly on its own, whether somebody's leaning on it or. Well, interestingly enough, there is a VATSIM event. There's a story I'm going to get to with all this. There's a VATSIM event coming up to support the Museum of Flight at Boeing Field in Seattle. And so there's the Museum of Flight fly-in, and that's May 6th, which I guess is 2 days from now. So they're looking to do a fly-in and some sort of a fundraiser or whatever. But interestingly enough, they have in the men's washroom at the Museum of Flight at Boeing Field, they've all lowered the urinals down to a normal height. They used to be quite a bit higher. And the reason for that is they used to have them quite a bit higher to keep all the pilots on their toes. But now the 737 MAX was doing that for them, keeping all the pilots very alert. So now they don't need to do that with the urinals. So it's all part of the history at the Museum of Flight. Yeah. Well, they're going to be having a Twitch stream to interview members of VATSIM. So maybe you could go on there and promote your stream once you fly in. Yeah, and then if you can get a shameless plug in there for your Twitch and or YouTube stream when you get interviewed, that would be good. The real world pilot and flight simmer lives in the area. Have you ever flown into Boeing Field for real? Well, you got 2 days to do that, and then you could be something else you could even talk. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. No, I haven't seen that one yet. Yeah, so maybe once we make the turn here, we should brief the approach.
Sounds good to me. Alright, and that's the RNAV GPS Zulu, right?
ILS if we're going to do the circle to land.
Oh yeah, the ILS 06. There we go. That's the right chart. I had the right one first time. It's a little odd that you get ready to brief your approach 400 miles out, but because I have never done this approach, we might as well brief it really good so I get it right.
Well, yeah, we could. That way, if there's any questions or whatever, we got lots of time to go over that. We're not kind of like doing it at the last.
Alright, 7 miles to the turn. Why don't we just start briefing it?
Okay. All right. So, you want to brief it, or will I brief it?
Well, how about you brief it and I'll ask questions and then go over it as soon as we're done before we say we're good to go here.
Okay. So, Dead Horse, Alaska, the ILS or localizer runway 06, Papa Alpha Sierra Charlie. The date on my chart is actually at the bottom here on ForeFlight. This is 07 December 17th, or 07 December 2017. I don't know why the chart is that old on ForeFlight. Do I need to go to Navigraph here?
That's the same date I have on my chart.
Okay, so it's same chart. That's fine then. Okay, so the localizer DME, the identifier will be Sierra Charlie Charlie, and we can identify that according to the Morse code identifier once we get closer. It'll be 109.3 with the approach course of 058. We got a 6,500 foot runway, and the airport elevation is 67 feet, and the touchdown zone is also 67 feet. So, So DME is required. We do have that. So the rest of that is not applicable to us because of that. MALSR is our runway lighting. You're going to tell me what that is because I'm not remembering it right now.
The multi-rail something lighting system. It's the lights that come off the end of the approach
Yes.
end.
Okay. And our missed approach will be climbed to 1500, then a climbing right turn to 2000, direct the Dead Horse VOR DME and hold over the VOR, continue climb and hold to 2000, and our will be 238 will be our outbound, and our inbound will be likely 58 degrees. All right, so now the actual approach itself, we're going to fly to Uval, and we will do that on the GTN, but we will also be doing that as a backup as well, flying towards that point, which is 16 miles on the 144.
So it's the
Radio.
144, then we go 16 miles to the 163, then another 16 miles to 184, and that's how we make the circle, right?
Yeah, now that 16 miles is not the distance between those points, that's the distance from the VOR.
Yeah, so we want to maintain as close as we can to 16 miles DME from the VOR.
Yes. Yep. And so then what we'll do is we'll adjust the we can adjust the course on that HSI if depending on how you're going to fly it, but we can adjust that as well so you're seeing when you're hitting those radials as well. But the main thing is if you just stay on the DME 16 miles, you're going to be flying that arc pretty much perfectly. And we will be staying 2300 during that whole time.
Well, the GTN should move the course needle at least on the pilot side, so just watch your co-pilot side, and if it doesn't move it, and then if I have to take over from the GTN because I don't have the autopilot panel working right now, I might need you to spin the course and the heading.
Yeah. And now my my HSI on both sides and the artificial rise on the pilot side are all dead here, so I think we have this problem.
If you just give me the headings, I can fly it.
Okay, so we'll stay at 2300 throughout the entire arc, and then we are going to intercept the localizer after the last leg there, and that will be, we will intercept that at Javo. So our ILS is going to be 109.3, and it will be 058 on the course. And we want to intercept at 1600 feet. So once we intercept the localizer, then we're going to set our altitude down to 1600 and let it fly down to that, which will be our intercept altitude.
Okay, and the Dead Horse VOR is, let's see here.
And our minimums is going to be 267 feet on the barometric altimeter.
Okay, so I'll set the ILS in the standby for nav 1. I'll put the Dead Horse VOR in the nav 1.
Okay, so 113.9 for the Dead Horse VOR. And 109.3 for standby for the localizer.
Okay, so right now the Dead Horse VOR 113.9er is in the active, so it'll show up once we get in range of the DME. In the standby, I've got 109.30 for the ILS.
And I see that. That's correct.
I'm going to need to grab another glass of water here, so if you need to do the same, go ahead and do it now, and then when you get back, I will hand control over to you for a moment.
Yeah, we can try that. I don't know if that'll work, but
Well, you can,
we'll see.
can just, I guess, just monitor it for a minute.
Yep. So I'll monitor here while you go for your water, and then I'll quickly go grab another coffee when you're back.
All right, I'll be back in just a moment. Oh, I see we're still flying here. Alright, I'm back if you need to step away.
Oh, yeah, perfect. I'm just going to go grab a coffee. I'll be right back.
The joys of having two pilots on board. Not a whole lot to look at here. Cruising along, 307 knots over the ground, and an hour and 7 minutes to go.
All right, I'm back.
Still here.
Incidentally, I looked on Navigraph. The Jepson chart on there is dated 6th October 2017, effective the 12th of October 2017. So the charts out here don't get updated that often. I guess I could complain to the chart manufacturer, but that might be beating a dead horse. No, they're just lucky they have an ILS. I wonder, although this would have to be under the same regulations for calibration and all that as any other. You would think some of the, I guess, being further north, the magnetic deflection or variation is not as pronounced, because going several years without anything changing is a little bit. So up here in Canada, Transport Canada has we call it the Aardvark. It's a -8 with an extended nose on it, and that's one of the pieces of equipment they use to calibrate or to test the ILSs. And there's also, I think it's some sort of business jet. It might be a Learjet. These guys just basically fly around and shoot ILS approaches all the time. It's quite the job to have. Oh, okay. Must have had something to do with our connecting and reconnect. What, the GTN says we're going to be still that short? What I find is we normally pick up quite a bit on the descent.
Climb.
Well, there's basically one airport, UMIAT, between us and the airport where we're going. So we basically have one. We could stop there for fuel if you want. About 90 miles. Let's see, I'll check the weather and all that there and see what. No procedures. No weather. I don't have active sky running, so I can't get weather. No nearby weather. There's no AWAS or anything there. Let's see if we can find it somehow. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the first guy couldn't read and the second guy couldn't count. Well, I had a family member who got a He wasn't a family member at the time, but he eventually became a family member. And he bought a little Rabbit GTI convertible, like about a mid 80s version. It was used, but it was a neat little car. And for some reason, in his mind, Volkswagens were diesels, but not all Volkswagens are diesels. So he bought this thing, drove straight to the gas station, filled it full of diesel, drove it home. So then all of a sudden I get a call. Can you come give me a hand? My car won't run. So we go there, and it would kind of start, and then it would putter out. And so, we kind of determined then that it was a gas car because there were spark plugs and not glow plugs. So we ended up draining the gas tank, and then we had to put gas in, and then keep trying to start it, clean the plugs, keep trying to start it, clean the plugs, they'd foul. But eventually we got it going, and then it changed the spark plugs to new ones, and everything was okay. But one of the problems with diesels in a gas engine, even though the compression is not nearly enough, sometimes it's almost enough to keep it going, and then you have a problem in how you're going to shut the thing off. Particularly if it's a mechanical fuel pump. If it's an electric fuel pump, then that stops it. But a mechanical fuel pump will keep pumping the fuel as long as the engine's running. And even with 7 to 8 pounds of compression, sometimes is enough to keep the thing, not running well, but it doesn't shut off. Well, yeah. Or I guess you could, if it was a standard, you could just put it in gear and let the clutch out, and that would probably stop it. Yeah, don't put diesel in the gas engine or 100 low lead in a Jet A.
Yeah.
Got a Chevy pickup. I had one of those. Was that the old body, like the real old classic nice body style, like before, like about the 73, 74? Yeah, those like fenders and stuff on those were probably about twice as thick as the next. No, the first third basically is done to where are we at? Somewhere in Papua New Guinea. So now the next legs don't start until the 10th of May. I guess it's around the world in 80 days, so it's, it's basically to follow that. Well, yeah, but I guess that's really not the point. Like when they did it back in the book or whatever, it was not. It took 80. And so there's wherever there was a checkpoint or a destination in the book, that's one of the required ones, and the rest we kind of build our route around it. Yeah, so right now I'm at actually Manus, Alpha Yankee Mike Oscar Mamote Airport in Manus, Papua New Guinea, and then we're heading to Japan, up through Russia, Alaska, then up the west coast into Mexico, and then over across down the east coast, and then doing the Greenland Iceland route, and we will be done back into London City Airport. Will be the last. That's where we started, and that's where we'll end. Now the second leg will only go as far as SVMC, which is somewhere in South America here. La Chanita International in Maracaibo, Zulia, in Venezuela. There's been some really neat airports, like we flew out of London City and went to Charles de Gaulle, and then from there to Innsbruck. So really, really beautiful flight there down into the valley, down into Innsbruck. And then to Rome. And then Greece. And then places throughout the Middle East, and then into Indonesia. And Hong Kong. Flew into Hong Kong, into the new airport. And then into China after that, and then Singapore, and now Papua New Guinea. So far we have done 23 flights, 33 flights of the 80. And though I'm doing the event, we're Team Fogg for Phineas Fogg, the main character in the book. Even though I'm doing it with DocPan, the Smart Copilot Extraordinaire Man, we have not yet done a Smart Copilot flight. But likely we will once we get in more into the US, because most of these, there's been no ATC on in some of those areas. There was somebody was on, but just basically out of my range. I guess looking later, he probably could have given me a clearance from my airport, but on the one map it showed he wasn't covering it that I was looking at. But he was in Nepal. He was doing that on Saturday, so that was kind of cool. Well, that'd be kind of nice. Yeah. Well, you could just make stuff up. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't know. I haven't really been following that closely. Like, our one sort of, it would, I guess you'd call it maybe low cost, but the competitor to Air Canada, which would be WestJet, I think they're going to be okay, although they've laid off a lot of people. But then there was Swoop and Flair Air, I think, that were the ultra low cost. So I don't know what that's going to do to them. I haven't really followed that. Well, and the kind of the drawback in Canada, like when Canadian Airlines and several of the other kind of majors went into financial difficulty, basically the government made Air Canada buy them, so it made things difficult for Air Canada at the time. But Air Canada right now is doing very well, sitting on a ton of cash, so I think they'll be able to weather this fairly well. They've got a very good CEO right now. Well, yeah. I haven't bought V5 yet. Yeah. So I put reinstalled V4 on the new install here, and I put it in there, and the frames are in the 20s, or sometimes a little less, but it's still smooth. So I think V5 will be a lot better, but they're saying it's really not officially supported on that plane yet, anyways. So I figured I would wait because the first hotfix that came up required a complete reinstall of V5. So if I would have bought it and put it in, I would have been starting from square one again. So I think on this one I'll wait a little bit. What leg is this on your Props Over Alaska tour? So apparently Air Canada today announced $1 billion loss so far.
Or you guys.
Well, not any longer. Like basically about the same time it started down in the United States. So significantly worse than 9/11, SARS, and the 2008 financial crisis. Well, and the thing is, like they've slashed their flight schedule by more than 90%, grounded more than 200 aircraft, and cut service internationally to just 5 airports. So they're burning 22 million Canadian, 16 million US in cash per day. So, well, and the biggest hurt is like there's no revenue coming in either. Well, I guess depending on our fuel, we might not be doing the circle to land. We might be doing just a straight in. So we should be heading towards that waypoint of Uval right now. Yeah, instead of to the Dead Horse VOR, we'll go straight to Uval. Does that make sense? Now,
Well, no.
now we may want to like basically we need to do a 180 at Uval, so we should probably go to heading mode and hit it a little bit to the right, like a mile or two to the right, so we can do like a turn to it. What is your source showing FMS on the HSI? I would say like direct right now, direct to it would be 050. So let's do 060, and then we can adjust that a little bit as we get closer. Okay, I've got no indication of anything here, so I don't know. Well, my trim wheel looks like it'll fit nicely. I've just got to, the stem on my encoder is a little bit long. I've just got to trim that down by about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. To center it better in the little, well, it's strange. Like my autopilot one isn't working either. I wonder if it's something to do with this. That's what I'm wondering. Well, we can swap those files and do a quick test when we land. Yeah. You broke up. I didn't hear that. Yeah. About 25 miles. Okay, about heading 030, left turn 030 is 26 miles to our left. Okay, the airport elevation is 258 feet. Minimum safe in the area looks like 1,800 feet, so we're clear to descend to 1,800. Is it moving on your side at all? Is this going to mess your flight up though if you land here? For the Sorry, what did you ask? Oh, didn't I'm Papa Alpha Uniform Mike? Maybe I didn't hit the push to talk. Are you hearing me? Yeah, you're hearing me.
QNH adjusted. I concur, yes. Well, once we land, we can swap out the Smart Copilot and see if it works better for the second leg.
No,
Yeah, there was a couple of little things, but overall it was yeah. Yeah, this is like only doing about half of or quarter of, the plane is flying, but aside from that, that's about the only thing that's synced. I think it was better, like it was bad. It was better than this before, I thought. Well, it's got gear. You can drop that. Mine's not showing any gear coming down. I wonder if before landing, if we should disconnect so that mine doesn't crash or something and cause you to lose your flight. Okay. Oh, now all my displays came back. Although I'm not showing any torque on my engine, so I don't know. But I'm still flying. Well, I'm descending, so I don't know. The engines sound like they're running, but it was all good till I pulled the throttle back, and now they've stopped. Oh, and then now they're starting again with the throttle forward. Or maybe, no. Well, we'll feather them and see what we can do. But the gear is definitely not coming down, so it'll be a belly landing.
1,000 feet to minimums.
Well, I see the river and the airport is on this side of it, so I might make.
Feet to minimums. 100 feet to minimums. Minimums.
We've got a nice cloud right in front of the airport, almost going to the ground, of course. You can sort of see through it.
100 feet.
Foreflight says it's poor dirt as well. Well, it doesn't look too bad for you. Oh, I got the. I'm going to make it.
Knots.
Okay, you should be able to see this, I guess. This could be cool. I've still got enough speed. Let's see how good my belly landing will be. Good night, I'm way fast. I'm 180 knots. Good night, this thing won't slow down even without the engines turning. Well, I ran out of runway. Well, the engines aren't running. How do I use reverse? Well, the river. There we go. The river's going to slow me down. Oh, hitting the bank on the other side is what really was not the good thing. Good night. I was about 100 knots, and then coming down the runway started floating, and the speed started climbing. So I don't know why that is, but anyways. Yeah, I just downloaded the one from the Smart Copilot website. It's on about the third or fourth page.